Hi and welcome. I'm Andy Mioch and you are watching A News. Here are the headlines. Israel strikes Iran's nuclear and military sites. Tehran vows harsh response. World leaders urge restraint. UN condemns military escalation. The UN Security Council set to meet over Israel's strike on Iran's request. Thank you for tuning in. Tehran said Israel's overnight strikes on Iran that targeted nuclear and military sites and killed top military brass and nuclear scientists are a declaration of war and vowed to respond. Local media report that civilians were also among those killed in strikes on residential areas. According to the Israelis, Iran initially retaliated by launching about 100 drones that were later intercepted.
Israel has launched a large-scale military operation against Iran, striking nuclear and military targets. Explosions were reported across Iran early Friday morning, just after 4 o'clock local time. According to the Iranian state media, the headquarters of the Islamic Revolutionary Guard Corps in Tehran was also hit. In a recorded statement, Prime Minister Netanyahu defended the strikes, calling them essential to eliminate what he described as a clear and present danger to Israel's survival.
Moments ago, Israel launched Operation Rising Lion, a targeted military operation to roll back the Iranian threat to Israel's very survival. This operation will continue for as many days as it takes to remove this threat. For decades, the tyrants of Tehran have brazenly, openly called for Israel's destruction. They've backed up their genocidal rhetoric with a program to develop nuclear weapons.
The Israeli military confirmed it carried out dozens of coordinated strikes targeting Iran's uranium enrichment plant at Natanz, ballistic missile factories and Revolutionary Guard sites. Witnesses described blasts rocking the capital Tehran, with air defense systems engaging Israeli missiles over the city. Strikes also damaged residential areas. Iranian outlets say children were among the casualties. The Israeli military says this is the beginning of a prolonged operation and that strikes will continue for as many days as it takes.
The IDF has prepared for this operation over a long period and is fully capable both in defense and offense. The Chief of Staff is currently commanding the operation and conducting ongoing assessments with commanders both at the front and on the home front. The IDF is ready to continue as needed. The Iranian regime seeks the destruction of the State of Israel. This is an act of necessity in the face of an emerging existential threat.
Iran's supreme leader, Ayatollah Ali Khamenei, condemned the assault, calling it a display of Israel's vile nature, and warned that Israel had prepared a bitter fate for itself. A spokesperson for Iran's armed forces said both Israel and the United States would pay a heavy price. Washington has denied any involvement. US Secretary of State Marco Rubio says the United States was not consulted and emphasized that their top priority now is to protect American personnel in the region. The International Atomic Energy Agency later verified a strike on the Natanz facility and says it's monitoring radiation levels in contact with both Iranian authorities and its inspectors. Israel, anticipating retaliation, has declared a state of emergency. Flights were grounded at Tehran's main airport, while Tel Aviv-bound flights were diverted elsewhere.
Iran has confirmed that several of its top military commanders and 6 nuclear scientists were killed in Israeli strikes.
Iran has confirmed the deaths of multiple senior military commanders and nuclear scientists in Israeli strikes carried out on Friday. Among those killed was Hossein Salami, head of the elite Revolutionary Guards Corps, and Mohammad Bagheri, the Chief of Staff of Iran's armed forces. Both men were key figures in shaping Iran's military doctrine and regional strategy. Among the nuclear scientists killed were Fareydun Abbasi Davani, a former head of Iran's Atomic Energy Organization and parliament member, and Mohammad Mehdi Tehranchi, head of Tehran's Islamic Azad University and a top physicist, and 4 more scientists. In addition, Ali Shamkhani, a senior advisor to Iran's supreme leader and former secretary of the Supreme National Security Council, was critically injured. Iranian state television reported explosions at critical sites, including the Natanz uranium enrichment facility, where extensive damage was confirmed. Israel said it struck dozens of nuclear and military targets to stop Iran from developing atomic weapons, adding that the operation could continue for days. In response, Iran appointed new leadership within hours. Navy Chief Habibullah Sayari will replace Bagheri as Armed Forces Chief, and Interior Minister Ahmad Vahidi will take over command of the Revolutionary Guards.
Angry Iranians took to the streets of Tehran following the strikes, demanding retaliation against Israel.
Crowds took to the streets of Tehran on Friday, demanding retaliation after Israel launched a series of deadly strikes across Iran. Protesters waved national flags and called for a strong military response. Many saw the strikes as a direct attack not only on Iran's leadership, but on its scientific and national pride.
We want a strong revenge, a crushing revenge, against those responsible, against the people who are truly involved in this matter. God willing, I want a definite and decisive response to be given to the root of this issue.
Negotiations not only do not solve problems, but will actually worsen our troubles. This is just one example, and today, the outcome of these negotiations has become clear.
Negotiations are not in our best interest at all. For years, we've been paying the price for these talks, and they've been nothing but a tool for the other side to extract concessions from us, only to break their own promises and agreements afterwards.
According to AFP, while protests filled key areas of the capital, other parts of Tehran remained quiet. However, tensions remained high as Iran's leaders vowed a forceful and unlimited response.
Emotions in Iran are running high. From outrage to defiance, many feel their country must strike back.
They want to take away our nuclear capability. That is unacceptable. So many scientists have worked hard for this. We achieved it ourselves, and now they want to take it from us.
In my opinion, as an Iranian, there must be a crushing response, a reciprocal one. How much longer should we live in fear?
Iran must destroy Israel. They must do something. At the very least, it shouldn't be given a chance to act.
Israel is struggling with its last breath to achieve something, but still it won't succeed. These are its final breaths, God willing. At least some peace will come out of it.
After the strikes, Israel said it's closing all diplomatic missions across the globe and urged its citizens not to show Jewish or Israeli symbols in public. Inside Israel, Tehran's initial 100 drones response led to the opening of the shelters.
Israel launched wide-scale airstrikes against Iran early Friday, claiming it hit nuclear facilities, ballistic missile sites, and senior military commanders. The operation, according to Israeli officials, aims to prevent Iran from developing a nuclear weapon. In response, Iran fired more than 100 drones towards Israeli territory. Hospitals in Tel Aviv and Haifa activated underground emergency facilities as fears of further escalation grow. Israel's National Ambulance Service is now on its highest state of alert.
Magen David Adom is currently at the highest level of alert following the Israeli attacks in Iran. Magen David Adom advises the entire population to follow the instructions given by the Home Front Command. Ensure that your safe rooms are clear, available, that you have food and water in there in case you have to remain in there for a long time, and in any case of emergency, to call Magen David Adom on 101.
Authorities closed Tel Aviv's Ben Gurion airport while commercial airlines diverted flights away from Israeli, Iranian, Iraqi and Jordanian airspace. Back on the ground, sirens and emergency alerts sent residents scrambling for supplies. Supermarkets in Tel Aviv filled quickly, with many unsure what comes next.
Oh yes, we're very afraid because on our way back from the restaurant we were really We were shocked by the alarms and the notifications we got on our phones about how urgent the situation was and how Iran was attacking and how the attack was imminent.
I woke up by the alarm and couldn't back to sleep, so I thought let's get some supplies in case anything happens. Got some water, some basic food for the family.
As tensions reach a new high, Israelis are bracing for what could become a prolonged regional conflict, with serious consequences for civilian life on both sides.
Over in Jerusalem, some seem to be happy about the strikes.
I woke very early and I heard that Israeli army attacked Iran, and I'm very happy for this. We're waiting for this.
Well, we had no choice. I really feel like this was a last-minute decision because we had no choice. We can't wait till they do something, then it'll be too late.
We have been waiting for this for some 20 years, striking Iran. To remove the heavy weight called Iran, and it's finally happening. I feel safe, and I feel that we are controlling the situation. I hope it will finish swiftly and good.
For more military details on Israel's aerial campaign against Iran, we go to Tel Aviv and Trent Murray.
Well, we are gathering further details about the size and scale of this major Israeli military operation. The IDF is saying over 200 fighter aircraft penetrated Iranian airspace at just after 3 a.m. local time, launching hundreds of airstrikes across the country. They've reportedly targeted senior members of the Iranian military, leaders of the powerful Revolutionary Guard, nuclear research scientists, as well as military bases, and of course Iran's nuclear enrichment sites. The scale of this, according to Iranian state media, is huge, and the Israelis are saying that they continue to gain air supremacy in Iranian airspace by taking out a number of air defense systems. Of course, while they are calling it a success, their operation, what they are also saying is that they're very cautious about what the reaction will be. Certainly Tehran is signalling that there is going to be a significant response. Earlier in the day, we saw 100 drones fired towards Israel. The IDF says they were able to intercept all of them before they reached Israel. But the bigger concern is the possibility of Tehran once again using ballistic missiles. There is only around 10 minutes notice from launch before those missiles will reach Israel, which is why a state of emergency does remain in place here. The Israeli government is telling people to keep up to date with the latest warnings. We have seen some signs, though, of that preparation. Earlier in the day, there were long lines at a number of supermarkets with people stocking up on things like bottled water and batteries, candles. We also know that public shelters have been opened, including a number of underground light rail stations. And at Ben Gurion International Airport, of course, Israel's main international airport, we are being told that almost all of the Israeli airlines have evacuated their aircraft to places like Cyprus and Greece in order to get them out of harm's way, amid concerns that a major Iranian response to this operation could be imminent. Trent Murray for A News, Tel Aviv.
US President Donald Trump called the Israeli attacks excellent. A bit earlier, he said that he gave Iran a 60-day ultimatum 2 months ago to make a deal, and that today was day 61. Trump also said that they might have a second chance now. In the first social media post following the strikes, he warned that Iran must agree to a nuclear deal before there is nothing left, suggesting Israel's next attacks could be even more brutal. A flood of reactions is pouring in after Israel's strikes on Iran. UN General Secretary and officials around the world have urged for maximum restraint, with some condemning the attacks.
The world is watching with growing alarm as Israel's strike on Iran sparks fears of a broader regional escalation and renewed calls for restraint from global powers. The US Secretary of State Marco Rubio posted on X, "Tonight, Israel took unilateral action against Iran. We are not involved in strikes against Iran, and our top priority is protecting American forces in the region. Let me be clear, Iran should not target US interests or personnel." The UN Secretary General Antonio Guterres condemned the military escalation by Israel in the Middle East. In a statement through his spokesperson, Guterres said that he was concerned by Israel's actions while talks between Iran and the United States were underway, and asked both sides to show restraint. British Prime Minister Keir Starmer also released a statement urging stability in the region. He said the reports of these strikes were concerning and that the UK urges all parties to step back and reduce tensions urgently. The Kingdom of Saudi Arabia strongly condemned what it called Israeli aggressions against Iran and called it a clear violation of international law. The Ministry of Foreign Affairs in Azerbaijan said they were deeply concerned by the military operation carried out by Israel against Iran. They condemned the escalation of the situation and urged both countries to resolve their differences through dialogue and diplomatic means. And in Armenia, the Foreign Ministry said it was deeply concerning, especially given it was taking place ahead of the next round of negotiations. On a post on X, they added, "We condemn such action and call for an immediate cessation of hostilities." Oman, who is mediating Iran and US nuclear talks, say that they consider this a dangerous, reckless escalation, that it represents a flagrant violation of United Nations Charter, the principles of international law, and that such aggressive and persistent behavior is unacceptable. They add that the Sultanate of Oman holds Israel responsible for this escalation. New Zealand's Prime Minister also reacted to the news.
It's a really unwelcome development in the Middle East. The risk of miscalculation is high. That region does not need any more military action and risk associated with that.
And Australia urged caution during this time.
Australia is alarmed by the escalation between Israel and Iran. This risks further destabilising a region that is already volatile. We call on all parties to refrain from actions and rhetoric that would further exacerbate tensions.
Pakistani Foreign Minister Ishaq Dar posted on X saying he strongly condemned the unjustified Israeli attacks on the Islamic Republic of Iran. He called it a brazen violation of Iran's sovereignty. Pakistan stands in solidarity with the government and people of Iran, he said.
The United Nations Security Council is set to meet at Tehran's request over the Israeli strikes. In a letter to the Security Council ahead of the meeting, Iran said it will, quote, respond decisively and proportionally to Israel's unlawful, cowardly acts. An exceptional meeting of the UN Nuclear Watchdog's Board of Governors will be held on Monday to discuss Israel's strikes on Iran. The move follows a request made during the board's regular session. While Iran is not a board member, its call for a meeting was backed by Russia, China, and Venezuela. Diplomats offered conflicting accounts of which country formally initiated it. And now joining us from Amsterdam to talk on the escalation is security and political expert Ken van Yerland. Welcome. Thank you so much for joining us. This situation is obviously very fluid. We have Israeli military confirming they carried out a new set of attacks. There are conflicting reports over Tehran's response. What was your initial reaction when you saw the sheer scale of the attack?
Well, this was already in the air for a very long time. They were waiting for the opportunity or the window of opportunity to strike Iran. And the timing was right, since we have seen over the last couple of months that Hezbollah has been destroyed and the Shiites in this area have been destroyed. Hamas is walking on its last leg. The Houthis are, well, they're not silenced, but they're they've been put out of action, as meaning that the proxy armies are not there anymore. So the opportunity after all the negotiations between the Americans and the Iranians, where the Iranians didn't take the Americans really serious about the about the facts. And another thing, thing is that Iran was maybe a month away, maybe 2 months away from really delivering an atomic bomb. So this was the only option and the only opportunity to destroy the Iranian capabilities to deliver an atomic bomb.
Well, Israel's spy agency Mossad went on during the day to release a video saying it shows its agents inside Iran pulling off a part of the operation. To some, this resembles the recent Ukrainian spiderweb operation. Does this show how long the strikes were prepared?
Well, they learned from each other. And this has been planned a very long time ago. And as you all know, that the Mossad, as an intelligence agency, we've seen the pager attack in Lebanon, like so many other attacks, very well prepared. This one was very well prepared, and it's not finished yet. So you can wait for some more attacks to appear in the next coming days. This is part of a much bigger plan to destroy the capabilities of Iran. This is not a war, and the fact actually is that this war didn't start today. This war started a very long time ago, and especially by all the threats from Iran. And let's say the 7th October pogrom was all part of this scheme, this war, where Iran started this war. So this is a response from the Israelis to take Iran out of the war and to destroy their military, but also their nuclear capabilities, to annihilate the entire top commando of the Iranian armies. They took out 20 generals and scientists today. So you can imagine this is a huge blow to Iran.
Well, this situation is, of course, developing. Many things remain unknown. But as things stand now, do you believe nuclear negotiations might continue? I'm referring here to Donald Trump's remarks that Iran now might have a second chance after his initial ultimatum expired.
A bit late, don't you think so? They had so many chances to negotiate, but they were not willing, not taking these negotiations very seriously. And now we have taken military actions against Iran. So how necessary will it be to discuss further negotiations? We'll see.
Okay, thank you so much for joining us and providing your insights and opinions.
You're welcome. Have a nice evening.
Now, at the center of everything is Iran's nuclear program. As Israel deems it an existential threat for Iran to be nuclear armed, Tehran had always maintained its program as for civilian purposes. The once agreed nuclear deal curbing Iran's nuclear capabilities from 2015 collapsed after Donald Trump withdrew the US from the deal during his first term. Here's what is known now of Iran's nuclear program.
Iran's nuclear program spans a wide geography from underground bunkers to open facilities in key cities. The spotlight often falls on the question, does Iran want nuclear weapons? The US and the UN watchdog IAEA believe Tehran had a covert nuclear weapons program that was halted in 2003. Iran firmly denies this.
Many years on from that withdrawal, which has seen the US impose significant sanctions on the Iranian economy, Iran has escalated by advancing its program significantly. It is certainly very advanced and dangerously close.
Following the 2015 nuclear deal, which offered sanctions relief in return for nuclear limits, progress stalled. When President Trump pulled the US out in 2018, Iran ramped up uranium enrichment. Today, Iran is enriching uranium up to 60%, close to the 90% weapons-grade threshold.
Concretely, we don't have 100% oversight of the program, but intelligence agencies, including US intelligence agencies, recently released that they don't believe Iran has made a decision yet to weaponize its program.
Now let's look at Iran's major nuclear facilities. Natanz, Iran's primary enrichment hub. Located south of Tehran, part of it is buried deep underground. It houses around 16,000 centrifuges, refining uranium up to 5%. But its smaller pilot plant enriches uranium up to 60%. The site has previously suffered sabotage, which Iran blames on Israel. Fordow, hidden inside a mountain near Qom, this site is better shielded from airstrikes. It was once off limits under the 2015 deal. Today, nearly 350 advanced centrifuges enrich uranium here to 60%. Isfahan, home to uranium processing and conversion. It's also where Iran can make uranium metal a substance used in bomb cores. Isfahan also stores enriched uranium. Kondab, a heavy water reactor with potential plutonium output. Its original core was filled with concrete after the 2015 agreement, but Iran now plans to activate the reactor by 2026. Tehran includes Iran's research reactor, used for scientific purposes. Bushehr, Iran's only functioning nuclear power plant. It uses Russian fuel, which is returned after use, reducing proliferation risks. Despite these developments, Tehran continues to signal that it remains open to negotiation with deep mistrust.
The negotiations may lead to results, or they may not. We're very skeptical of the other side. We don't accept or trust them, but we're optimistic about our own capabilities.
Talks are ongoing, sometimes in back channels.
It lasted about 2.5 hours. It took place in a calm and positive atmosphere.
Meanwhile, the US maintains a clear position.
I think Iran could be a great country as long as it doesn't have nuclear weapons.
Yet Israel's expectations go further, a complete dismantling.
It wants Iran to fully renounce its nuclear program, including the peaceful dimensions of its nuclear program. And that is something that Iran is not likely to do.
Iran sees itself surrounded and threatened, especially after seeing what happened to countries that gave up their nuclear capabilities.
It looks around and sees countries like Iraq or Libya or even Ukraine that have renounced their nuclear programs as having been made vulnerable.
In this geopolitical chess game, both Iran and world powers are weighing the cost of delay.
So there are some interests in a fast timeline, but there are, of course, obstacles in arriving at a quick deal.
But this story doesn't end with diplomacy. In the early hours of June 13th, Israel launched a large-scale military operation, Rising Lion, striking Iran's key nuclear site, including Natanz, and reportedly targeting senior commanders and nuclear scientists. With Iran vowing bitter and painful retaliation, the future of nuclear diplomacy now faces a pivotal crossroads. Will this military escalation derail talks entirely or force a renewed push toward resolution?
Breaking news out of Israel, we've just received word that the Israeli military have reported detecting missile launches from Iranian territory aimed at the country. According to the military's statement, air defense systems have been activated to intercept the incoming missiles. Israeli officials have urged citizens to immediately seek shelter in safe locations. Now, in the next few minutes, we're bringing you insights of Professors Matthew Bunn from Harvard University and Mohammad Marandi of the University of Tehran on what a broader escalation might bring.
This will make Iran even more determined that it needs to move directly toward producing nuclear weapons. My guess is that it will try to rebuild its program at secret locations. And if I were betting, I think, unfortunately, that the odds of Iran actually having a nuclear bomb in hand 10 years from now are probably higher as a result of this strike rather than lower. I think Iran will be more determined. They'll probably kick out inspectors. They may pull out of the Nuclear Non-Proliferation Treaty and then proceed at secret sites.
But the Iranian response will be devastating, and it will be something that the Israeli regime will regret. And hopefully Trump will be sane enough to stay out of it, because we all know that much of the world's oil and gas comes from the Persian Gulf region. And if the bases, US bases, are in countries on the other side of the Persian Gulf, if the United States attacks Iran, those tiny Arab dictatorships will be complicit. And that would bring about a situation in the oil market that will create a collapse in the global economy, including where you are. So I think you should be praying that Trump is sane enough to stay out of this, but Iran will punish the Israeli regime.
The impact of Israeli strikes on Iran was felt on global markets. European shares plummeted to a 3-week low.
The escalation of tensions in the Middle East adds a fresh layer of uncertainty for financial markets at a time when investors are already trying to get their heads around President Trump's trade policies. European shares touched their lowest level in 3 weeks after Israel's attack on Iran.
Investors have to deal with two wars, hot wars. Firstly, Russia, Ukraine, and now Iran and Israel. And at the same time, this is also overshadowed by another trade conflict, which is not necessarily a trade war, but could become one. We have a deadline for reciprocal tariffs, US President Trump's Liberation Day, which runs until the 8th of July. Then very, very high tariffs will come back, unless trade agreements can be concluded in the meantime. So it's these three conflicts, two hot wars, a looming trade conflict, that are severely limiting investors' risk appetite.
The Pan-European Stock 600 was down 0.6%. The benchmark is on track to log a fifth session in the red, its longest losing streak since September 2024. The heightened tensions in the oil-rich Middle East sent prices of crude soaring, last up over 7%, weighing most heavily on airlines. Many airlines cleared out of the airspace over Israel, Iran, Iraq, and Jordan, and Lufthansa suspended all its flights to and from Tehran, disrupting operations. On the flip side, energy stocks soared 1.3%, with Shell and BP up 1.85% and 2.6%, respectively. Most regional stock bourses were in the red, with Germany's DAX down 1.2%. Investors flocked to safe haven assets amid the increased uncertainty, with gold prices up over 1%. The benchmark index is set for weekly declines, as investors were unimpressed by the outcome of US-China talks earlier this week, and doubts over an EU trade deal with the US before Trump's July 8th tariff deadline also loomed.
We can now bring you more on the breaking news. Around 150 missiles have been launched towards Israel from Iran. The Iranian armed forces have launched a military operation against Israel in retaliation for strikes on the Islamic Republic, according to Iranian broadcaster Al-Alam. Citing IRNA, Iran has reportedly fired hundreds of ballistic missiles towards Israel as part of its response. Reuters reports explosions over Tel Aviv, while AFP says blasts have also been heard in Jerusalem. We'll bring you more as we have it. In other news, yesterday, the United Nations General Assembly overwhelmingly backed a resolution demanding an immediate and lasting ceasefire in Gaza. 149 countries voted in favor, with just 12 against, including the United States and Israel. 19 nations abstained. The resolution condemns the use of starvation as a weapon of war and urges Israel to lift its blockade on Gaza and allow full humanitarian access. It also calls for the release of all hostages. While not legally binding, resolutions passed by the General Assembly carry significant political weight, reflecting the views of the global community.
In favor.
Israel's airstrikes on Iran and Tehran's announced retaliation caused concern of a broader conflict that could destabilize neighboring regions, such as the South Caucasus. Our Aytan Shukurova brings the report from the Iranian-Azerbaijani border.
Overnight, Israel launched a massive air assault on Iran, targeting its nuclear and military infrastructure. Explosions were reported across Tehran, with strikes confirmed on key sites such as Natanz. According to Iranian officials, the attack killed several senior commanders and nuclear scientists. In response, Iran deployed more than 100 drones toward Israeli military targets, marking on what it called an initial retaliation. But in Tel Aviv, officials are preparing for the possibility of a much broader war. And right behind me, just a few meters from where we are standing right now, is the Khudafarim Bridge. It spans the Aras River and connects Azerbaijan with Iran's East Azerbaijan province. For decades, it has stood as a symbol of connection, not only between two nations, but between Azerbaijan and the tens of millions of ethnic Azerbaijanis living in the northern Iran. But that bridge and everything it represents is now overshadowed by the specter of war. A wider conflict in Iran will have serious implications for the South Caucasus, not only politically but economically and socially. While countries like Azerbaijan have pursued a balanced, neutral approach and consistently called for dialogue, any mistake, any further escalation in such a volatile environment could have unexpected consequences. A regional crisis could disrupt key infrastructure, trade routes, and even spark population flows, straining economies and testing social cohesion across the Caucasus. As the situation develops, countries in this region remain alert and walking a diplomatic tightrope, hoping to avoid being drawn into a confrontation that none of them want, but all of them may feel.
Amid the escalating situation in Iran, Azerbaijan is assisting in the evacuation of foreign nationals following official requests from several countries. Among those expected to arrive in Azerbaijan by land are members of Russia's Tchaikovsky Symphony Orchestra and around 90 artists, including renowned director Fyodor Bondarchuk. Next, some Azerbaijan Airlines flights scheduled for Friday and Saturday have been cancelled. The Heydar Aliyev International Airport confirmed the cancellation of flights to Tel Aviv, Dubai, and Tehran. The airline cited security concerns amid heightened regional risks, saying that flight safety is its highest priority. Airspace closures after the Israeli strikes on Iran caused many international flights to divert to the Heydar Aliyev Airport in Baku, making it a temporary hub. More than 10 flights, including those from Moscow, Minsk, and Kazan en route to Dubai, landed in Baku. Among the passengers were individuals of Armenian descent. In response, Ara Abramyan, president of the Union of Armenians of Russia, appealed to the Russian Foreign Ministry to ensure proper assistance. The Media Development Agency of the Republic of Azerbaijan denies claims alleging that Azerbaijani military aircraft are flying near Iran's border, calling them false. Amid rising Israel-Iran tensions, Azerbaijan stays alert to fake news due to its shared border with Iran, the agency says. They urged relying on official sources and warned against disinformation. Armenian Prime Minister Nikol Pashinyan said his country cannot be in the long term in both the European Union and the Russia-led Eurasian Economic Union. However, he stressed there is no urgent need to choose now. Speaking at the Global Security 2025 Forum in Prague, Pashinyan said the country will focus on reforms to align with EU standards, adding that any future decision should involve citizens, parliament, and government. He also noted Armenia values its EU partnership but does not seek to cut ties with Russia. Azerbaijan's Science and Education Minister Emin Amrullayev held talks with China's Science and Technology Minister Yin He-jun at the Second Belt and Road Conference in Chengdu. The talks on current and future joint projects focused heavily on artificial intelligence and advanced technologies. 2 letters of intent were signed, one to jointly implement an AI cooperation program and another for broader collaboration in science, technology, and innovation. Baku hosted the premiere of a documentary on the legacy of renowned American journalist Thomas Goltz, whose work helped bring Azerbaijan's energy achievements to global attention.
The Baku Congress Center was the venue for the premiere of the documentary Thomas Goltz, An Oil Odyssey. This special film honors American journalist Thomas Goltz, who dedicated much of his career to highlighting Azerbaijan's energy achievements on the international stage. Officials, SOCAR executives, representatives from the Ministry of Economy, family members, and symbolic attendance by 102 students from Baku Higher Oil School gathered to pay tribute.
Long and complex.
The documentary combined rare archival footage, personal memories, and insightful interviews, focusing particularly on the strategic vision of ex-president of Azerbaijan, Heydar Aliyev, which shaped Azerbaijan's global energy position through the landmark contract of the century. Goltz's significant journalistic contributions were highlighted as essential to informing the international community about Azerbaijan. His brother Vincent Goltz spoke emotionally about Thomas's deep connection to the country.
I would say that the main idea of the event is a celebration of my brother Thomas, who known as a journalist, but much more than just a journalist. He made an impression here in Azerbaijan and many other places, but he had a love for Azerbaijan that was quite mind-blowing. Anyway, he's right here, and for me to see this on the screen up here is truly amazing, and I'm just so proud to be able to be here as part of the production that we're about to have here. Yeah.
Goltz was honoured as a cherished friend of Azerbaijan, ensuring his legacy continues through the memories and contributions showcased in this meaningful tribute.
Well, that's all we have for you for now. Thank you for watching, and do stay tuned to A News.